Hello! Hello. In today's video, I'm going to show you all about this wall here. Also, just a quick look around. I've sprayed the workshop black. I think it looks great, but I didn't film it because really, who wants to see black paint going onto breeze block? Anyway, on with the wall. So you're not going to see the whole build of this wall because it's basic stud work, but let me just quickly bring you up to pace. At the top, what I did, I laser leveled the line off of the breeze block at the end, over there, and I put lines along that and along the floor. I attached using concrete screws 2x3s along the floor, and then you see this kind of frame here. I've built a frame up here and a frame down here on both sides, and I put a sheet of plywood in between, and I'll try and show you now underneath some noggins going across. Now those noggins support the electrics and give an extra bit of strength to the wood storage, that long wood storage that will go here. It won't be 2x3s, it will be some birch plywood that's going to go there, some long pieces I've got.
So the first job to do is create a flat surface where I can create the cantilevered shelf frame. So I'm just reference marking the length of the 2x3s that I need and then chopping them to length. It took a few tweaks to get a snug fit, and then I'm just referencing the existing noggins or stretchers so I can put them in the same place on the cantilevered shelf. So I'm just measuring the length of the stretchers and setting a stop block so that I can cut, I think, 7. So I just lay them out on the plywood sheet and pre-drill and screw them in line with the pencil markings I referenced earlier. And in a second I'll pre-drill and screw the top on. It's easier to screw the top on standing it up. So this is a snug fit, which is a good thing I suppose, and I will pre-drill with a Forstner bit and then drill all the way through and then use a coach bolt with a nylock nut on the bottom so that it won't come undone, and I put about 5 I think or 6 of these in along the length just to give it that extra strength holding it down. On the other side of the shelf where it hangs over, I don't have the same piece of wood to use coach bolt, so I just drill up from under and screw in, knowing that I'm missing the screws that are holding the bottom stretchers. So just seeing how level it is. So just a quick glimpse of some of the electrics. I've drilled through the middles of some of the stretchers to run electrics from the drop down in the roof, and there's a drop down here for that 16 amp socket later on, but we won't get too much into the electrics here.
The next job is to, on this shelf here, is to do the underside, is to put the plywood on the underside so I can fix the light fixtures to it and put the cables through.
To make it easy to support a piece of plywood whilst I'm trying to mount it, I've clamped on like a T piece of wood at the end. This is removable, and that gap there will allow me to slot in a piece of plywood, which you're seeing now. So the stretchers are all in alignment, so I can use this effectively a story stick to mark out where I'm going to put the screws so they're all aligned as I underpin the bottom part of the shelf.
On the shelf in the metalworking area on the underside of it, I want some lights, but I want it to be as low profile as possible. What I mean by that is these are the connectors for the lights I've chosen, and they're like a Hessian screw, which in the UK is just a big fat thread. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. A big fat thread, normally just on a light bulb, but what this is a LED array that you can fold and direct. It's super bright, and it's great for the metalworking room because when you're welding you want that extra light. And but what I don't want is this thing, the height of this protruding down below the shelf and then this. So what I've decided to do is to drill some holes through the top like this here, and that this will go through there, and then that just pokes out the surface below. Now, in order to mount that, what I've come up with is just a very rough jig. The electrics will get mounted through the hole in the center of this, and then that will get screwed. That will get screwed to this, and then this will get screwed in position down to there, and the electric cables will go in the top. So that's what I'm about to fit now. That means I get the low profile that I want, and I still get the lights that I want. So let's go for it.
I am retaining some excess cable in the cavity spaces here, purely because if I want to change the light fittings in the future, then I can.
So these are the lights. There we go. They fold up, but they'll only be required when I'm welding on a bench here. So
we'll take a quick look at how I'm testing the electric circuit right now. I've enabled the power coming in temporarily, and I've hooked up the wires using Wago style connectors at both ends just to test this particular circuit, and I've done this as I've progressed all the way through the garage. I will very quickly turn that power straight back off. There will be junction boxes in here connecting all these wires up properly before the shelf goes back on. So off camera I made another frame, and I'm just fitting that now. This is the back wall of the cantilevered shelf. This will leave a cavity on the left side, on the main workshop side, and just a shelf on the side that you see me on now, which is the metal working room.
okay, so I'm cladding out this top cavity space on the top of the wall here. This is going to be a storage space with some lights in the top. So you can see just over my shoulder here is the base of the shelf, where I'm going to clad this with some 18mm ply. The joists are close enough that I don't need any supports in between, so that's good. It's not quite square, and this piece slightly bows out for some reason. It is CLS construction timber, so it's not always the straightest, so that's probably why. What I'm saying is not my fault. So I'm going to use a technique that you see quite often in boat building, when the shape of the inside of the boat on a refit is quite odd, and you've got to work out or create a template so that you can transfer that to some expensive teak wood. Obviously this is just ply, but what I'm going to do is show you that technique now. So what I've got here is a sheet of plywood, and what you do is you place it in the space. It's not the exact size, it's slightly just under on both ends. I don't have it quite touching the back wall, and then what we're going to do is we're going to glue pieces of plywood here, here, snugly against, and in that far corner there that you can't see, and we're going to hot glue those there, and that will give us the exact angles at each end and the touch points on the back wall, so we can kind of see if there's a slight curve here. We can sort of mark that up on the board and know what we've got to sort out to get a snug fit. So I'm going to hot glue that, but before I do that, what I'll do is I'll just put these pieces under here, push them right snug to the back, and I'll mark a line on the underside of here with a pencil. In fact, let's just do that one now, so that I know the exact distance to this front edge that I need. I'll do the same here, making sure it's snugly in. And then we'll get to the hot gluing. I'll bring you in a bit closer. Okay, I think the glue's hot enough now. The good thing about hot glue is it just dries so quickly, and for this application it's way better than super glue. That's one end, what the middle done. just jump down to this end. Two down, one to go. So what I've done is I've lined up the pencil lines at the front because I know that to be the straightest part of this. And then where I've glued these panels, I just mark the back edges as my reference.
So as I fit this piece, it's perfect on the length, but the back has a slight bow to it, so I have left a little bit over just so I can plane that out, which is what I'm doing now.
That looks pretty snug to me, but that's the difficult one. So I've got some just under length support, so I can push this to push that support up just here. Make sure that I'm feeding the electrics just through as I push up. On the far end I've got another one, and just before just make sure the cables are accessible when it's up. And then there we go. Okay, so I'm starting the cladding. I've painted that section black, as you can see. I've started the cladding of this. The reason I've made a cut here and screwing this on separately is because I want access to the back of this, just in case I have a problem getting sheet goods out. I'll do the same on both sides. And then I'll just work my way up. I'll fast forward this bit for you.
You can see me using a story stick here just to make sure all the screws were at the same hole. This piece was particularly difficult because I had to mark the holes single-handedly, drop the wires through, but then also hold it up somehow, and luckily I had this big heavy piece of metal.
Okay, so I'm just cladding the small trim, and you can see I've done the top and the two side pieces. I'm about to just do this piece here. That's what this is. I've got, you can't see the floor, but I've got two spacers to keep it the 6mm off the floor to allow the flooring to go under it. And then I've cut this to size. And what I'm attaching that with, and a little screw, a little posi head screw, very small, I think they're 39mm screws, but very tiny. So they don't stand out quite as much as these ones do in the big boards, but for the small trim I don't need them to be massive. So anyway, these are the shims I'm using. I'll just take them together. Okay, the last bit of the wall. I've just got to clad that top shelf and trim around it, and then those grey things are going on there, and I'll tell you about that in a bit.
I was genuinely lucky with the size on the first attempt of that backboard there. So So to attach this little end cap here, I've pre-installed the screws and I'm using a right angled adapter on my small drill driver, and I think I use a little bit of leverage off the wall just to try and apply some pressure because it's a tight space. So all of the plywood on this wall gets a coat of liquid beeswax. It's easy and fast to apply, and it will protect it from any sort of mold or moisture. So this room here is the metal working space. I'm thinking about how do I temporarily enclose this off when I want to and leave it open when I'm not actually doing any grinding or welding. So that's a problem yet to solve. I've got some ideas for a solution, but what I've actually got to do here is to protect this wall from the splatter from welds, and I think I can get to something like 3,000 degrees. The little metal balls, that hot molten balls that shoot off, I don't want it to really burn the wall. So this is fibre cement board. This is actually a backer board for called a Hardy backer cement board for tiling, but reading this website, it's non-combustible, and cement boards are supposed to be a good solution for this kind of thing. So what I'm going to do is mount the rails a little bit off the floor, mount this up to about here, put the sockets through it to protect around the sockets, and I'm going to be using that metal trim to do it. So let's get on with it. So I've made some spaces all the same height to get this exactly off the floor where I want it. So this metal trough is a galvanized trough, and I think it's 9mm thick. I think the backer board is 6mm. So I'm just drilling the hole for the cable, drop that into the trough, and I'll show you in a second, but you can drill and screw through this board. It will dull drill bits, but you can screw through it, which is what I'm doing now, and then I just use a screwdriver just to ping that metal trough over the top of the screws again. And I put the metal thing there just to protect sparks going down the back of it. Hopefully they'll just bounce off of it if they go up that high. The cement board is on. That should protect against any sparks, grinding mess. The lights are up. Okay, so the wall's finished. Primarily it was about having some storage, additional storage for the workshop, and additional surface area for tools to go against. So this will be a miter saw station against here. All the power's in place for it, and dust extraction will run above it into that corner, probably where the 16 amp socket is. Here we'll store 2.4 meters, either sheet goods or longwood. I have quite a bit of the birch ply in 2.4 meters that will go here, and I'll use that to make out my miter saw station here. And then I have some sheets of birch ply will go here. But just to show you how easy it is to slide sheets in and out, I have 3 meters to this side of me and a space here for breaking down sheets. But it's really easy. It slips on the white laminate plywood that's there on the base and tucks away nicely there. What else is to know? There is lights up on this shelf up here. I'm not sure what I'm putting up there at the moment. Originally it was going to be storage, and then I thought maybe it might be nice to have some kind of display. I don't know, we'll see. This is a light boom arm, so it's mounted to a bracket here. I need to extend the bracket so it will reach around here, but it has a really good reach around the workshop. Just quickly show you. It will reach out and go around right up to the roof, all the way around. And with a minor modification to the bracket here, it will reach out this side as well. So put that away for now. You've seen the metal working area, the cement wall for welding. In the next video,
I'll be covering the flooring, which you can see a little bit in the video, and you can see some of the skirting board I've put on. I'll cover that in detail and show you how tough the flooring is. So I've done some tests and stuff. And the video after that will be installing the airline all around the workshop. That'll be a good video. So yeah, drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about the plywood storage. Is it a good idea? Is it overkill? For me, it's really valuable. So yeah, let me know your thoughts, and if you can be so kind as to drop a like or a subscribe, that'd be really helping the channel out. Much appreciated. See you in the next video.